how custom should your carry gun be? I mean, I carry a $10,000, actually it's $100,000. It's made from the unborn scraps of a meteor.
I mean, it should be okay.
I think I've already said this, but welcome to the jungle. We like fun and games. Hi there. Welcome to the Gun Cranks.
Wore my jungle shirt.
He did. I think that's what inspired me subconsciously to throw that together. Mm-hmm. I'm Guns Magazine editor Brent Wheat. That in the jungle print is can't even speak today. Need more coffee. American Handgunner editor Tom McHale, and of course our constant companion Roy Huntington, our special assignments editor. Hello, gentlemen. It's been rough getting this thing ready to record, so we've made it.
Good
because
thing
somebody, and I'm not mentioning names. You know, Roy, do you know who it was that likes to tinker with their gear too much?
I have a steam-powered computer, and it's just like
it's reliable.
I know.
I've even got balance cards. How about that?
So the rest of us are out of balance.
Well, that's absolutely correct, but that's why we hope our audience loves us. So, gentlemen, we've got a great topic today suggested by Roy, a very controversial and argumentative topic, which is how custom should your carry gun be? But before we get there, we have to talk about our great sponsor, For Patriots. Tom, you're getting ready to sort of get hit by yet another tropical system. Are you all prepared with all your For Patriots gear?
Yes, I've got it set up. So what I'm using my Sidekick portable solar generator to power a leaf blower, and we're standing out in the front yard trying to push that thing back out to sea. So I feel good.
Well, I'm actually surprised.
We got emergency food supplies. Hey, you don't think about this stuff, but this is the kind of catastrophe emergency that does happen. It happens all the time where the stores close, the power goes out for days, a week, 2 weeks, whatever. So be prepared.
Well, Tom, I was just sitting here listening to you and realizing after the last hurricane that glanced off South Carolina, I realized there's one product in the For Patriots line that they don't make and they need to, the Hurricane Mai Tai mix.
Put it in the big 5-gallon buckets for emergency supplies that last for 10 years. Or you
can do the powdered mix, assuming you'll have power for your blender, and they do make the solar freezers, so you would have ice. So there's Tom sitting next to his pool, having a cold, frosty Mai Tai as the world collapses around him, courtesy of For Patriots. And what is that address and the double secret special code for our viewers?
Well, I'm going to assign homework. When you go to 4Patriots, number 4patriots.com, and enter the code GunCranks, you'll get 10% off. But leave a comment with your order and say, hey, the Gun Cranks are suggesting that you produce 5-gallon containers of emergency Mai Tai as a future product. So, everybody welcomes suggestions. So give it a try.
There you go. Well, I'm not a fruity parasol drink kind of guy, but I will admit when we were on our cruise, hey, when in Rome, I had one on the deck, and it was
rum.
Yeah, it was when in rum. It was pretty good. So, 4patriots.com. Thank you very much for sponsoring the Gun Cranks, and check it out and use that double secret code and get 10% off. So, well, Roy, you came up with this topic and it's a good one. So I'm going to let you lead off of basically how custom should your carry gun be? I mean, I carry a $10,000 one-off. Actually, it's $100,000. It's made from the unborn scraps of a meteor. So is that too much?
For me, it's all about reliability. And over the 40 years in the industry that I have under my belt, I look upon custom guns a lot like one should look at hot rods. And if you build a hot rod and you do a really good job, they can be pretty reliable. But we both know anytime there's a car club meeting at the local Golden Corral, there's always 2 or 3 cars with the hood up and guys inside trying to get them started again, And so a lot of custom guns that are put together guns, I find that that's the case. And so just for sheer reliability, I would use great caution if you're going to carry a custom gun. I think that there are a lot of people don't want to carry a custom gun because there's that knee-jerk reaction where they say, "Oh no, if you carry a custom gun, then when you're in court, they're going to say that you're just a death monger because you wanted to have a hair trigger."
Death monger.
Yeah, and you can address that stuff, but and then some people say, "Well, I don't want to carry my $5,000 Nighthawk Custom because if I shoot somebody with it and it gets impounded, I may not get it back," which is true.
Yeah.
So I think really there's a happy medium there somewhere. I wouldn't go to the cheapest because it is your life, right? So you do want something that's functional, that works, that has a proven track record. And then that's frankly what I would carry. And I don't think a little trigger work on something, like if you have a Glock and you want to put a trigger in it, I think that's okay. To me, that's not really custom work. That's making it a better gun. But I don't know. What do you guys think?
Tom, your thoughts?
I'll weigh in. You're going to set me off now, Roy. You did it. You lit the fuse, and the fuse is the explosive at the end of that fuse is this. I can't tell you how many times I've heard, "I won't carry a nice gun because, if I have to use it for self-defense, it's going to end up in the evidence locker and I won't have it, and it's expensive." And I just kind of can't even process that, because what are you valuing your life at $300? Like, well, I carry a $300 gun because then if it ends up in the evidence locker, I can buy another one to replace it. And I'm like, really? Your life. So I have a very different opinion on that topic than those folks, right? So no, I mean, I would agree with your reliability. Absolutely. Number one. And number two, right up next to that one, is carry the gun you are most confident with. And guess what? You get what you pay for. So usually the more expensive the gun, the better it is. You're probably going to shoot it better. So I carry a nice gun. My wife carries a nice gun, not because we're bougie, but because we're confident with them.
Tom,
and guess what? If I end up in a self-defense shooting, if I end up in a self-defense shooting and it ends up in the evidence locker and I'm still alive, guess what? I don't care about the $1,000 or $2,000 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, go ahead. Sorry,
Tom. You are certainly bougie, absolutely, but that's okay. We like all types here. We're open and accepting as the gun cranks. I got to say, I'm probably the other end of the spectrum. I'm a strict believer in factory guns for carry. I've got some custom guns here, and I trust them. I'm wondering how much of that unconsciously goes back to my law enforcement days, where no reloads, no modified guns. It's stock as stock gets. So I guess truly my attitude is I'm good with what Tom says, what Roy says. What I do, though, every day is I strap a good quality stock gun. And I think we all agree, if something is made of cast zinc and upper hell holistan and it could double admirably as a boat anchor, that's probably not what you want to bet your life on. But I guess you can't go wrong with a good quality major manufacturer CCW gun. But if you want to carry that $5,000 or $100,000 Meteor gun, knock yourself out. But as Roy said, on the other end of the spectrum, make sure it runs, because so many of those custom guns are tight as a Chubb safe, which tends to impact reliability. So you got to know your gun.
What would you define as a custom gun? Let's set the parameters here. Because I feel like we might be mixing
metaphors,
terminology a little bit. Like a Nighthawk, do you call that a custom gun or just a really nice production gun?
See, that's a very good point.
Yeah.
Like, I don't consider a Les Bear a custom gun.
Okay.
Although Les might fight you, but I think those small production guns, they can monitor the quality control better than Smith & Wesson cranking out 5,000 a day. And so I think those qualify as a stock gun,
Yeah.
So a Les Bear, an Ed Brown, a Nighthawk Custom, stuff like that. I mean, they're really, I would consider the higher end Springfield Armory guns to almost be in the same category,
Yeah.
the feature-laden Springfield Armory 1911s and whatnot. And so, no, I think those are really cool. But I don't consider, as we said before, if you buy, okay, let's imaginate for a minute. You buy a bone stock Colt 1911, a new production Colt 1911, and you have somebody do trigger work on it, maybe put better sights and an extended safety. See, I don't think that's really a custom gun. I think it's like putting radial tires on your car. You don't have a custom car then. You just have radial tires. You know, maybe replace the headlights with brighter LEDs or something. I think that's good.
Well, one thought I've had, because I was sitting here, how do you define that? I guess, and Roy, you're the pistol smith of the group. Tell me if I'm all wet or not, which I usually am. The degree of milling, because every semi-custom, let's call it, for lack of a better term, they're going to do some milling. But if you start with like a frame casting and do all the finishing up, that would seem to be, to me, a lot more custom than one where you have a production slide and frame or a production revolver and you clean it up. Maybe you use a milling machine, but it's more about cleaning up and precision fitting rather than actually building the part. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah. I mean, maybe another analogy is like detailing your car. If you buy a used car and then you top to bottom detail it, change all the fluids, polish the windows, put new tires on it. I mean, that's kind of what you're doing if you buy a gun like that and do that. But I agree with you. If you buy a Caspian frame and slide and then you build that gun, with aftermarket parts and whatnot, well, that's certainly a custom gun.
Yeah.
I think, and something else we have to address here is that a lot of people will say, like the keyboard commandos say, oh no, if you have a custom gun and it's got a 4-pound trigger pull and you're in court, they're going to just hang you because you are a death doctor and you have a hair trigger and you're, or if you use, hollow point ammunition, they're going to say he just wants to kill people and stuff like that. And I brought that up with a prosecutor one time, and I said, well, in your experience, he was a big city prosecutor doing homicides and whatnot. And I said, what do you think about that? He said, it absolutely doesn't matter. He said, if the gun was unsafe and someone got shot accidentally because it was an unsafe gun, yes, then that's going to be an issue. He said, but if someone defends himself in a legitimate defensive shooting or a legitimate situation where he's entitled to defend himself and he takes the other guy's life, he said, we don't care if he uses a concrete block or a baseball bat or a spiked club. He said, as long as you're allowed to do what happened, we don't care if you have a custom gun or not. Yep. He said, having said that, the defense may get excited about it and you may have to defend that. But I know our own Masad Ayub has testified in court on those things. And he says he makes a compelling case. It's really easy to convince a jury that if you have a custom gun, it's because you feel responsible, that you want to have the best possible sights and the best possible trigger. And so, so you are sure and you can shoot safely and, and he makes a really good case for that.
Yeah. Thinking back on my own experience and I think, Roy, you might agree with this. It's pretty well known when the defense gets, or the prosecutor for that matter, gets way down in the weeds and starts arguing about things about the type of ammunition used, arguing about the equipment and minutia rather than your actions. That's a Hail Mary. They're spitballing to hope something, sticks in the mind. But I think that's what I was getting ready to say is, hey, keyboard commandos, it's about your actions, not about the equipment. And yes, you can probably find really the exception to that, but most of the time it's what you did, not what you're carrying or have in your hand, like Roy said.
You can pull out the charts of the New York trigger hit rates, right?
Wow.
With those 10 and 12 pound triggers on the Glocks.
That's
right?
True. Well, I was just an expert witness in a homicide case here. I've talked about the guns and stuff like that involved, and they happened to use a very inexpensive 9mm handgun.
Really? First like I've heard of that.
$100. Yeah, but in this situation, the well, she was a suspect, but she ended up not being convicted. But she didn't have a lot of money, so she had an inexpensive gun, right? And she had, what do you call it? I think Tula ammunition, that steel cased, ammunition, ball ammo, right? And so she was involved in a defensive shooting. And the kind of gun or ammunition, it really never came up once, other than just to say, well, this is the gun and this is the ammo. It was her actions is what we had to talk about. And so had she used a $5,000 Nighthawk Custom or the $100 gun she used, which was rusty, by the way, it was not an issue, And so I think the concept of using a concealed carry gun that's a custom gun, really for me, is just all about, is it a good gun? Is it reliable? As Tom says, do you shoot it well? If a gun like that gives you confidence, well, then you'd be foolish not to carry it, but it better be a good gun.
Absolutely. I've got another question here, and this is extremely trivial, but I've seen, of course, internet commandos arguing about this. What about the degree of decoration? Because we've all got custom engraved guns with scroll work and all this. Do you guys see that as any issue? Personally, I think it's a little too flashy. I like my guns to be like me. I'm the gray man. I don't want to attract attention, but you guys thoughts on that?
Roy, do you still have that? Does your carry gun still have that smile and wait for flash engraved on the barrel crown?
Yeah,
okay,
right on the end.
I thought that was your gun, right? Okay.
The recoil spring plug.
Yeah.
It says smile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's a good idea on it.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's friendly. It's a nicer greeting, right? Than
we have to. I think we need to revert back to what I just said about what the prosecutor said. Was it if you're involved in a defensive shooting that's within the law, doesn't matter what you use. It has no bearing on what you used. So if you have your barbecue gun and you're on your way to your barbecue in West Texas, and you're blinged up like a son of a gun there, and you end up shooting a bad guy, I mean, it should be okay.
Other than I will say, we've all seen the ejection port covers on AR-15s that say some really sketchy things. That would maybe be the exception. Kill them all. I want to kill or something like that. That's not going to look good in front of a jury. Just saying. Same, though, as your T-shirt, kill a commie for mommy, shoot XYZ. We always discouraged our cops from wearing that kind of stuff because it comes back to haunt you.
Roy, your point about the actions being what matters, I absolutely agree with. But at the same time, I don't do stuff on any of my guns that would invite unnecessary,
I'm a secret double ninja killer times 3. Okay, good for you.
Well, you see a lot of the stuff, the custom Cerakote work and stuff on, especially Glocks and that kind of thing. And it's always like death heads and, kill them all and let God sort them out. And, what from my cold, dead fingers. And that kind of stuff probably would be a little embarrassing in a court of law, as they hold up the gun in front of the jury, and say, well, does your gun say kill them all? And it does.
It seemed like a good idea at the time.
It came stock that way. There was a police shooting a few years ago, and it was in I don't remember the exact details, but he was a SWAT guy, and he had an AR-15, and the ejection port did have one of those monikers, and whatever, I don't remember what it said, but it wasn't good, whatever it said. And even though the shooting was justified, that just really made it messy. I mean, that was in the news. That was the company who produced the ejection port covers. They were in the news. Yep. It was just, it had no bearing on what happened, but
still,
like you said,
well,
keep your brain in gear.
Think ahead, folks. Just think ahead. As we've often asked younger people in our chain of command, at what point did you think that was a good idea? Really? But no. Well, true. Let's go the other end, because I got to thinking, in my pragmatic view, this is actually kind of what causes me to draw the line. too expensive to carry. I mean, that's kind of functionality aside. I look at it as a carry gun is going to accumulate wear and nicks and dings. And I guess my cheap self is what keeps me from carrying some of the nicest guns I've got in my gun locker, because guns do get dropped, believe it or not. They're subject to high levels of humidity. We've all had a stainless carry gun that you go, oh my Lord, there's rust, So actually, I guess for me, that's kind of the dividing line of, I don't want to carry my really nice stuff because unless it's the barbecue kind of thing, but the daily carry stuff, I'm not going to spend a lot of money on something. What do you think?
Well, for me, it's, let's equate it to tools. And I have a $5 socket set from Harbor Freight, that's in my tractor. But I don't rely on that. That's a kind of get me home kind of a situation. If I was going to daily carry a tool, it would be a Craftsman minimum, but more than likely Snap-on, and so it's the same thing. So would you carry a $5 gun as you're to rely on every day? Probably not, right? But you would carry a $450, Hellcat or, Glock or something else, right? And then if you could afford it, then go ahead and carry $1,000 Kimber. Because if you like it, if it makes you feel better, if you shoot it well, there's nothing wrong with doing that. But I'm with you there. I wouldn't carry a $10,000 engraved gun just because, like Brent says, I don't want to beat it up, But that, let's balance that with something. I had a pair of nickel plated, ivory gripped Colts, single action armies, that a guy did for me, Eddie Janis at Peacemaker Specialist. And I told him, I said, Eddie, I'm going to we camp in the desert, but I don't carry my Colts. I have a Uberti single action. I carry that. And he said, well, you're an idiot. And I said, well, why is that? He said, you have these two beautiful Colts, which I tuned for you, and they're sitting in your safe and you're not enjoying them and you're not using them. He said, and then you'll die and they'll get passed on to some pimply faced, young punk, fiance of your daughter's, and he's not going to know what it is. He said, so put your Uberti away and take your Colts out and carry them and use them and enjoy them. And so I balance my carry gun with that. It's like, I have a carry gun, but it's a nice gun and it has some custom work on it and it feels good and I like it. And so I don't know if that makes sense or not.
Hey, Roy.
Yeah.
I have a question for you. Do you know what's in our silverware drawer in the kitchen, our everyday silverware drawer? No, I bet you can guess. Give me a guess.
I hope it's real silver like that's in ours.
It is. Oh, that is hilarious. Because I always, my wife started doing that years ago, and she's like, a friend of hers kind of got her and was like, why do you have it? It's going to sit and collect dust.
Yep.
Yeah, we use it every day. But along those lines, I won't carry a gun because it's fancy or expensive, but I still go back to that. Whichever one I shoot best, I don't care how much it costs. That's what I'm going to carry. Yeah. And so my most common carry guns are a very pricey Staccato and a Springfield Armory TRP, which is also into the 4-figure range because I'm most confident with those two. So that's what I carry.
Well, I think that's a very good point. I think it's a good category to be in. That $800 to $1,500 high quality handgun, you're going to get something that's accurate and reliable and trustworthy, and you're going to feel good carrying it. And I agree completely. It's funny about the silverware though. We inherited this massive amount of family silver when Susie's grandma died about 15 years ago, and we had a little silver before. And when we moved to Joplin here, Susie was unboxing this stuff and going to put it away. And she said, you know what? Let's use this. And I said, great idea, but I always thought it was going to be a pain in the neck, that it was going to tarnish and it was going to all that. But what we discovered was that if you're using your silver every day, it works great.
It's less.
So that's good you do. Yeah.
It actually tarnishes. Here we are talking about silver on gun cranks, but it tarnishes less when you're using it all the time. throw it in the
It does.
dishwasher. And
Well, gentlemen, I'm going to completely
okay, Brent,
I'm
use
going
your
to
silver.
completely
Brent.
disagree and get myself in trouble. We have silver, and it sits in the formal dining room, and we don't use it because my beloved, wonderful, smart, intelligent, good-looking, sexy wife has one little common problem. She doesn't look in the garbage disposal before turning it on. And we have spoons that could be used as a bone saw. And we go through a lot of spoons. We've got the stainless steel spoon company on speed dial. So there, I said it. That's why we don't use silver, but that applies to guns too. That's why I don't carry my really good guns. So
that's
drop them
actually
in
a
the
pretty
garbage
funny
disposal?
thing. That's a good analogy. I think the silverware, though, does lend itself to our conversation. It's like if you do have a $1,200 Kimber in your gun safe and you're carrying a $250, entry level mediocre, you're not quite, it's jammed a couple times, maybe it's time to put that away and break out the nice gun and use it,
So join us next week on Gun Cranks when we talk about bone china.
and we're not bougie, right?
I'll be there, by golly. So.
Yeah.
All right, so let's each sum it up, huh? I would say don't be afraid to carry a custom gun. Just make sure if it's a full custom scratch built that it works. So,
but don't be afraid to carry a stock production gun if it's good quality and it works. I think we're coming down to, we all agree on one thing: the dependability, reliability, and practicality. And Tom?
Yeah.
Carry confident. It's your life. Carry what you perform best with, regardless of the price tag. Might be $300 or $3,000.
Yep.
Good stuff.
Don't worry about court. Don't worry about what the defense attorneys are going to say. Don't worry about any of that kind of stuff. Tom said, carry competent. So if what you do and you have a competent, response to a dangerous situation, you'll be fine.
Well, gentlemen, there's a crazed woman standing at my door, and she's brandishing a baseball bat.
She's throwing bone china at you.
I'll probably end up with a spoon stuck in my temple if we go much longer. And I'm telling you, we've all had the experience. There's nothing better. Well, I'm kind of sleepy. I'm going to have a bowl of cereal. Ow, ow. It wasn't my fault. I couldn't see down there. Okay, whatever.
I can't wait till we talk about glassware. It's going to be a good episode.
In 2 episodes, we're going to talk about linen. I am just a big fan of whatever. You know what? You don't get this on any other gun program anywhere. So there, we are unique and special, just like everybody. No, unlike everybody else.
It's proof that it's not AI generated, this show. Because AI couldn't even.
Oh, my goodness. Well, thanks again to our great sponsor, 4Patriots, and they're coming soon, emergency Mai Tai mix to go with Tom's blender and solar generator and all their other great stuff. Check out the number 4, the word patriots.com. Use the code, Tom? Gun Cranks. I like to surprise you with that. Have that little pause in there. You were.
I was paying attention.
Excellent. Well, until the next time when we talk about other domestic items and home decor, we are the Gun Cranks. On behalf of Tom McHale, editor of American Handgunner, Roy Huntington, the man about town, the gadabout of the firearms industry, I'm Guns Magazine editor Brent Wheat, and we will see you next episode. Thanks for joining us.
I'm Guns Magazine editor Brent Wheat. I'm here with Tom McHale, editor of American Handgunner, Eric Yellowhouse, the editor of AmericanTalk.com, and gadabout, man about town, Roy Huntington.